Welcome to This Explainer. Listen, if you've driven around San Diego lately, you've probably noticed a major shift happening right in our own backyards. I mean, gone are the days when those standard dog-eared wood planks were basically your only option, right? Today, corrugated metal fences are spreading like wildfire through our neighborhoods, all the way from the coast to way inland. But hey, before you go and tear down your old fence, you really need to know exactly what you're getting into. So let's just dive right in, because today we're giving you the ultimate, absolutely no fluff, practical buyer's guide to corrugated metal fences here in San Diego, pulling directly from the local experts at Fence Pros San Diego. Here is our quick game plan for today. We're covering the corrugated look, a real deal San Diego cost breakdown, the coastal rust factor, and finally, local rules, permits, and wind. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the corrugated metal look. When a lot of us picture a modern corrugated metal fence, those ribbed, solid panels that just look so incredibly good next to drought-tolerant, desert-modern landscaping, we're usually picturing this gorgeous, earthy, rusted material called corten steel. It's actually a weathering steel specifically designed to develop a stable, rust-colored patina on purpose, so it's not deteriorating. Actually, scratch that. The rust is the protection. That layer literally becomes its protective coating. But as we'll see in just a minute, exactly where your house sits in San Diego makes a massive difference on whether this is a genius design choice or, well, a really expensive mistake. Now, beyond the metal itself, the frame you choose completely dictates the final vibe of the fence. You've basically got two main options here. On one hand, you have the standard wood frame. This usually means horizontal wood boards holding the metal infill. It looks modern without feeling like you're living in a factory. And crucially, it's really cost-effective. On the other hand, the all-steel frame uses welded posts and rails. This leans heavily into that warehouse, industrial aesthetic. And while it needs less maintenance down the road and stands up to our winds a lot better, it is for sure a much bigger labor job up front. So what does this actually cost? Let's get into Section 2, the San Diego cost breakdown. Let's break down the typical installed estimates you'll see per linear foot. The baseline configuration, the one most local crews will quote you right out of the gate, is galvanized steel in a wood frame. That's going to run you about $30 to $60 per linear foot. Now, if you want aluminum, which completely avoids the whole rusting issue, it bumps up just a bit to $35 to $65. But if you're dead set on that intentional rust look of corten steel, you're stepping into the premium tier. That's $45 to $75 a foot. Corten simply costs more per sheet, and the crews have to be incredibly careful handling it during the install. Keep those base numbers in mind, because upgrading your frame is going to cost you a premium. You can expect to add roughly 10 to 20 backs per linear foot if you decide to swap that standard wood frame for a welded all-steel frame. It's a substantially bigger on-site job to weld and finish all that steel. But hey, it does give you superior longevity and wind resistance, so it's a trade-off. Okay, here is the major hidden cost that catches so many people totally off guard. The footings. We're talking $200 to $500 per post. If your yard needs brand new posts rather than just reusing an existing structure, man, those costs add up fast. And why is that? Well, because the soil here in San Diego varies wildly. Sinking a post into shifting coastal sand takes a totally different footing depth than drilling into that rock-hard, decomposed granite you find further inland. Your local installer literally has to customize the footing to your exact dirt. Which brings us right into Section 3, the coastal rust factor. San Diego has this incredible, unique geographic challenge. We have world-class beaches, but that constant, heavy coastal salt air, it wages an absolute war against metal. So the ultimate question for anyone living, say, west of the 5 freeway is this: does a corrugated metal fence rust near the beach? And the answer is, well, it entirely depends on what you buy. Let's break down the metals. First up is galvanized steel. Yes, it's zinc-coated for rust resistance, but our salt air is relentless. The zinc does a fantastic job protecting the flat face of the panel, but those factory-cut edges on the sides, or the heads of the screws holding the whole thing together, they do not have that full protection. In coastal salt air, that is exactly where you're going to see ugly rust starting to bleed down your shiny new fence. And then there's corten steel. Remember, this is the one that's designed to rust on purpose, but here is the massive warning label. In constant salt spray right on the coast, corten cannot form that stable patina. It won't stop rusting, it just keeps corroding right past the stopping point. This means it will actively streak and drip rust-colored runoff all over your stucco, your pavers, your concrete, the whole shebang. Corten is stunning, absolutely, but it is much, much better suited for properties a few miles inland. So what is the fix for coastal homes?
Here are your golden rules. First, choose aluminum. Aluminum panels just do not rust. Period. Full stop. It might dent a little easier and cost a tiny bit more upfront, but there is zero corrosion trade-off. Second, I don't care which metal you pick. If you are near the ocean, you must insist on stainless steel or hot-dip galvanized fasteners. Standard zinc-plated screws will totally fail you near the water.
Moving to our last topic, Section 4, Rules and Permits. So you've picked your style, you've picked your metal, but now you have to navigate the actual legal and structural realities of building this thing in San Diego County. The magic number to remember here is 6. 6 feet is the strict height limit for solid fences without a variance in the city of San Diego and most incorporated cities around the county. Because a corrugated metal panel is completely solid, it doesn't let any air through, it is strictly capped at 6 feet. If you want a taller fence, you can't use a solid panel all the way up. You'd have to combine a 6-foot metal base with an open design topper, something like lattice or spaced slats, just to let the air flow through.
And that exact lack of airflow brings us to some absolutely critical checkpoints. Look, because solid metal panels catch heavy wind loads, they basically act like a giant sail in your backyard. Treating them like a standard wood fence against Santa Ana winds is just a recipe for disaster. Your posts and footings absolutely must be sized to withstand intense wind, not just the sheer physical weight of the metal. Plus, the second you start pouring new footings, most cities are going to require a permit, completely regardless of the fence's height.
Finally, for those of you living in planned communities, you really need to hear this advice from Fence Pros San Diego. Corrugated metal is still viewed as a non-traditional material by a lot of HOAs. Before you order a single panel or pay any deposits, get their approval. Boards that will rubber stamp wood or vinyl all day long will slam on the brakes the second they hear about metal, unless you physically hand them material samples. Because let's be honest, nothing scares an HOA board quite like the word industrial. Save yourself a massive headache and get that sorted first. Which leaves us with this final big picture thought. A corrugated metal fence can completely, 100% transform the look of your property. But as we've seen today, ultimate success isn't just about picking a cool picture you found on the internet. You have to ask yourself, are you building just for your yard's aesthetic, or are you truly building for San Diego's unique environment? Matching your framing to the Santa Ana winds, your footings to the local soil, and your exact metal type to your distance from those crashing waves. That is how you build a fence that actually lasts. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep building smart, and we'll catch you next time.